Uncle Dan.
Hey, Uncle Doug.
In these dark times, there's very few things that bring me personal happiness. And so I have
light
to
times, are there any things that bring you personal happiness?
Almost none. But
Okay.
but one that does in good times and bad is annoying my brother.
Yes. I feel like that brings joy to all of us.
And I've been training for it my whole life.
Mm-hmm. It's the gift for every anniversary, isn't it?
But there are other people who annoy Uncle Mark.
Yes. Well, there are, guys, and other than the two of you, there are a few. And let me get to this, because this is anyway. We're living in a strange time, and as we three are, as we've mentioned, being even more socially distant than usual, we are all three of us in separate locales doing our small part to push down the fucking curve.
Yep.
On this here Chinese hoax of COVID-19. My husband and I are only a few days into this self-imposed exile, and we've gotten so bored that we threw a little birthday party for our cat. I saw that. Some of you may have seen her with her 2 and 0 birthday candles on her little plate of salmon on our Twitter feed.
Oh my God, is she 20?
She's 20.
Yeah. Holy shit.
20 years young. And she's
That's
got a few
amazing.
lives left. Yeah, she's awesome. So it was a good time, but this is good. This period in our history is going to get weird. So
yeah.
And speaking of Twitter and social media in the time of plague, it is a pretty fascinating place. And among the tons of hopeful videos of Italians having a ball playing music together from the isolation of their balconies, there's of course, I know they're amazing, and there's of course fear and very well-deserved rage at the utter clusterfuckery and undoubted coming death toll at the hands of the orange shitler in the White House. But among that, and so help me God, all the anti-vaxxers and homeopathic fools claiming crystals and bee pollen will cure you of anything, there are of course, those out there saying everything happens for a reason. I know I shouldn't let it, but this little pumpkin spice latte of Namaste coexist sticker feel-goodism makes me a little mental. The vast majority of the time, the Megans or Chads in your life that deploy it don't mean any harm. No. And even I observe some social niceties that I know some atheists hate, like reflexively saying bless you when people sneeze. I probably should stop that, but that's a chat for another time. So yes,
I like to just add on to it. I like to make it longer. I like to say, "May the Lord and Savior please bless your nose" or something like that.
May the high God be Beelzebub.
I always say "God damn you to hell" when somebody sneezes.
Oh, I like that too. That's a good way to go.
So there are plenty of things that, and really almost everything, happens for a reason. If the tree outside your window is moving around, the reason is the wind is blowing it.
Yeah, there is causation in the universe.
If the soup you're eating is hot, the reason is because you cooked it. If an apple falls out of a tree and hits you on the head, it is, as famous strange person and mostly genius Isaac Newton theorized, the Earth's gravity pulled it free of the tree and towards its massive self, so gravity.
Right.
Yes, Megan, there are reasons for things. This is, as Dan mentioned, causation. That's what the things above are, causes and effects. But as of this recording, there is zero proof that the reason for anything is because some sort of divine pre-planning and or universe desiring a thing for you and or angels making a near-miss car crash into just that. Causation is not correlation, neither is it intention. Unless the intention of yourself or another extant person is the cause, right? Very simple. So projecting an intellect and meaning into the spaces between the known is, sadly, a very human trait, and we've been deluding ourselves that way for a very long time. Uncle Dan explored this with his discussion on pareidolia in episode 20. Yeah. There is likely an evolutionary root, or yes, reason for this. Our brains project patterns into dark spaces. We've all experienced the sensation of seeing a face in the trees, late at night, and fucking freaking out. And Megan, that wasn't a ghost. That was an eons-long development of a gift evolution gave us, enabling us to see the face of a tiger before it pounces, perhaps living a moment longer. So
right, so that you get that one more second of terror before you die. That's always a good thing to have.
So you can order one more pumpkin spice latte in front of Uncle Mark.
Life's final gift. So that's just the fight or flight sensory reality of pareidolia. This pattern projecting also slops over into the intellectual, philosophical world as well. Sun worship and a desire to control the terrifying, unpredictable cycles of life and nature by, quote, understanding them and then by somehow appeasing them is universal in the human experience. And this is the wellspring of every religion, living and dead, on earth. The fact that they tend to give men unquestionable power over women's minds and bodies and those of girls is just one of the many wonderful side effects of our species trying to cope with being afraid of the dark. So everything happens for a reason was codified in a very weird and entirely unconvincing sort of apologetic that Christians still go to all the time, which is so strange to me, called Aquinas' 5 Ways, or the 5 Proofs. And I'm going to leave it to our old friend, Professor Jim, to come on and give it the slow roasting it deserves. But in brief, Thomas Aquinas was a 13th century monk and theologian who decided what the God-tormented world of the time needed was a way to prove that God existed.
Right.
Well, guess what, guys? He had 5. 5 ways, also known as 5 causes. His argument...
And it's really pretty airtight, as I understand it. Now, I know I haven't read it for a while, but I am told, and I'm sure you're going to confirm this, that there's no way around it. Once you say these 5 things to us, we will believe in God.
You will believe in God. Are you ready for this? So his argument was that we mortals could never...
I don't know if I want to believe in God. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
His argument was that we mortals could never see or know God in this life, but we could track him like an elk or something because we could observe his passing by the amazing things he caused to be. And this is, I'm going to just sum it all up for you. Essentially, things move, therefore someone is moving them. That's God. Things exist, therefore someone caused them to exist. God, declared Aquinas. Some things are possible and some are not. So, hey, everybody, meet God, etc., etc. And he ends with, hilariously, with the shittiest 5th way, the argument from design. And I quote Aquinas, we see that that natural bodies work towards some goal and do not do so by chance. Most natural things lack knowledge. But as an arrow reaches its target because it is directed by an archer, what lacks intelligence achieves goals by being directed by something intelligent. Therefore, some intelligent being exists by whom all natural things are directed to their end, and this being we call God. The end.
Yeah.
Done. Right?
That is the argument of a person who has never fully examined how shittily we are designed. Because if we had a perfect designer, if any of the critters on this earth had a perfect designer, there would be some major differences. I just cannot see how a perfect designer would give me nipples. I don't get it.
Well, I mentioned this to you guys before, but when I was debating those Christians outside Temple Square, I was having the same argument about how, we're clearly not perfect. I choke on water.
Yeah.
Like, how could that be a smart design? And they're like, well, what would be better? And I'm like, a dolphin.
Yeah.
And I could tell that no one had ever said that to them before because there was a moment of panic in their eyes. Like, oh my God, he's right.
It's just all you have to do is put the breathe hole on the other side from the eat hole. They don't have to be the same hole. There's just no reason for it.
Exactly.
Aquinas clearly had never seen a platypus.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is that about? So he surely dropped the quill on that big finish of the argument from design.
Yes, indeed.
See, everything happens for a reason. Keen listeners will also know that this leads us, like an arrow to the target, to the classic God of the gaps fallacy in all its glory. We discussed that in episode 24. Basically, it is, we don't know a thing, therefore God.
Yeah.
And this habit of pounding God like a piton into every gap that science and learning have narrowed still goes on today, although the gaps are far, far fewer and much more spread out. When Thomas Aquinas was strolling around Sicily with that stupid haircut, Jupiter was almost 400 years from being discovered. Today, we are aware of the existence of hundreds of exoplanets outside of our solar system.
And we will discover Jupiter one of these days.
We'll find our way there. And we're about to launch a space telescope that may be capable of seeing them in some detail.
Yeah.
The gaps, once gigantic, are getting very small indeed. Yet, this desperation to cram a watchmaker into the works persists. I get part of it, the idea that the world is nothing more than an African savanna where the strong eat the weak, and the slow and the sick, and there's no referee can be a spooky feeling, especially if you've been swaddled in the downy comfort of believing bad things never happen to good people because of Jesus and his super friends, or something somewhere is manning their station on your behalf.
Right.
But growing up both physically and intellectually means realizing that simply isn't the case. Tom Hanks has the coronavirus and Donald Trump does not.
Yeah,
Millions of people prayed for God to stop the Holocaust, but he didn't. The godless Russian army did. Babies die in house fires. Football teams lose the big game. Your best friend is going to stop talking to you someday, and there is zero proof at all that all or any dogs go to heaven. So,
you killed somebody on that one.
They all go to hell.
All dogs go to hell. Cats go to heaven. There's a great meme out there that I might have mentioned before on the show. That's an image of a huge fucking galaxy in the void of space, and the caption over it just says "No lives matter," which is no. Have you not seen that?
No, that's funny.
It's brilliant, but has likely been co-opted as an anti-Black Lives Matter meme by the pudgy basement Nazis of America. So that's yet another example of how everything sucks and there is no loving God. But it makes a great point.
Those PBZs, man, I'll tell you what.
PBDs having their PBRs. It does make a great point that there is no celestial crossing guard making sure you get from cradle to grave safely, right? However, of course your life matters. It matters to the people who love you, and even the ones who just like you. But does the planet care? No. If it were to feel anything, the planet would fucking hate us.
Right, that's true.
It sent out this devil bug to kill the three of us locked in our respective panic rooms, while Republicans sneeze on each other and pass tiny hand-to-hand monsters because of Hillary's emails proving this is all a Chinese hoax.
Yeah,
and why wouldn't the Earth hate us with all Doug's done to it? But that's simply the case.
Come at me, Earth.
Oh, don't challenge it right now. But that's simply the case.
Doug, it is coming at you right now, currently.
Yeah.
I will live forever.
Good.
I am immortal. So the universe is mostly nothing, then rocks moving at insanely high speeds, a dash of intense background radiation, then some big shit way too hot to touch, then at least one semi-inhabitable place where we all get to chill for a bit, and it will eventually kill you one way or another without a second thought because it cannot think, it can only be. Yep. Asteroids be asteroiding, supernovas be supernovaing, and microscopic organisms that share the same drive to live you do be evolving at incredible rates of speed and looking for a warm nose to have babies in. This is the truth of it. Saying everything happens for a reason also absolves the person saying it of being proactive in or taking responsibility for the very often bad thing they are saying happened for a reason.
Yeah.
If you lost a friendship or a job or an opportunity by fucking up saying, this is what the universe wants for me, is the fucking thing same thing as saying YOLO after breaking someone's heart. And just as insidiously, it absolves whatever supernatural wingman you may have of any moral consistency and integrity. The same God or good feeling that you feel guided you to the most amazing yoga class in Chelsea also let the Anthill Kids happen. So go back a couple episodes for that romp.
No, please don't
do that.
Nobody go back.
The same guy that you just knew brought your family together for the perfect Christmas getaway is going to kill your granny with the coronavirus. Don't believe in that guy. That guy's a fucking monster. And because he doesn't exist, it's super easy not to believe in him. Shoo pretend monster. And please stop crediting him or the vast void of freezing space with the good things that actual people do. Like when the American guy who recovered from Ebola thanked Jesus for saving his ass as he laid in bed surrounded by the doctors and nurses who took great risk and actually saved him.
Yeah.
And really, stop saying everything happens for a reason when something bad happens, especially if you are the actual reason it happened. Right. Everyone knows you need a priest to absolve you of your sins. You can't just mechaleka hiney-ho yourself. And Where do you get the arrogance that the universe cares so fucking much that it wants to act as your day planner? Even if God existed, he's planning famines, hurling hurricanes about gay pride parades he's mad about that hit the wrong cities, cooking up the next pandemic. Don't bother this all-loving genocidal maniac with helping you find your fucking car keys. We are in a moment right now as a species, an insanely interconnected global society, where the actual reasons for things are very, very critical to understand and get right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know it's probably all the doing of the Jews, obviously, but let's make sure we get it right this time, okay, guys? If this thing continues to explode, and vulnerable and not so vulnerable people get sick and die, and people go broke and lose jobs, and the global economy tanks, there will be reasons. And those will be that nobody knew when to take this seriously, that Trump didn't accept the World Health Organization test kits because he wasn't going to profit off them, and that everybody is still going out and going about and not realizing that their bodies are aircraft carriers full of zillions of little corona spiders until this is going to get way, way worse and it's going to be too late. Those are the reasons, Chad and Megan. So, to conclude, the universe is mostly a lot of hostile nothing. Jesus, if he ever existed, died all the way dead on that cross and never popped back out of the tomb to see his shadow. Is the world a cold, shitty, uncaring place where survival of the fittest is the only scripture that is really true? Could be, if we let it be. But we don't have to. We can make it a warm, rewarding, interesting place to be if we want. Look at the Italians and the Spaniards singing and playing together, into the night as the plague ravages their countries. I don't know what we Americans will do. Maybe we'll throw toilet paper at each other from across the street, if social media is any indication. But if we want, we can be the reason good things happen, and we don't have to wait for Jesus. He's dead, you guys. So that's it.
You're so right, but I just want to mention that it is not just by God believers who use that bullshit about everything happens for a reason.
No.
That magical thinking extends all the way through to all people of all sorts of belief and non-belief. And it really does need to stop. The idea is so ludicrous on its face and so non-comforting if you just think 3 seconds about it.
Right.
That really, don't ever say that to anybody. Your grandma doesn't die for a reason. She's just dead, and we have to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the reason she died is she had leukemia.
Right.
Don't try to say that some intellect decided to give it to her. Right? What kind of world are you expecting people to live in where that's a thing?
Don't try to convince me that her death will somehow be of benefit to me.
Yeah.
I may learn something from it, what you're doing is trying to push off my grieving and not care that I'm in pain. You know what I mean? It's such a nasty thing to say when you're trying to make someone feel better.
It is. It's very cruel.
And if you're saying that to make someone feel better, you are an asshole.
Right. And it also...
Well, you may not be on purpose. If the whole point of this is that some people say that reflexively. It's certainly in the zeitgeist of our community. So it's not like you're a dick necessarily for saying it, but we're bringing it to your attention so that after you've heard this segment on our show, then you're a dick for saying it.
That's right. Well, for 2 things. You now believe in God because Aquinas' 5 ways just completely blew your brain out of your ears.
Try it. True.
And don't do that shit anymore. And it also robs, like the guy who recovered from Ebola, it also robs the people who really did a good thing of the credit for the good thing they did. Why be that guy?
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. So everybody wash your hands.
Yes, please do. And we'll move along.
Well, before we go, guys, one quick thing. If anyone hasn't seen that Italian who's quarantined playing his stove like a DJ booth, I highly recommend it. It will make you.
See that. It's hilarious.
It will make all the things better.
Yeah,
we'll see if we can get that link into the show notes. We may not remember, but we'll try to.
All right, let's move on.
All right.